Hello everyone, and welcome to my Shaman's first episode in the Zero to Hero Challenge. The goal of the challenge is to obtain a Mythic Plus rating of 2500 from an initial rating of 0 through the use of pugs only. The rules are quite simple. I cannot group up with my guildies or friends, and I cannot receive any assistance such as gold or items from my main. There are only a couple exceptions that I cannot help without paying for a separate WoW account. These are the decreased cost in flight stones for item level upgrades and the bonus reputations gains I get as I've already reached renowned level 20 on my main character. I will also be limiting myself to around 4 hours per week on the character to show that even if someone is a casual player, they too can complete this challenge. As stated in the finale of my Demon Hunter Challenge series video, I've let my viewers select the new class and spec that I will play. The community has voted, and the results are an Elemental Shaman. Shaman overall will be an interesting class for me, as I've never played a Shaman much before beyond leveling 1 to the level cap. I'm very much looking forward to learning the class, but I'm sure there will be many fails along the way, as I haven't played a ranged character for many years. With the introduction out of the way, let's get started. I'd already had a level 70 Shaman with a little bit of gear from the previous season, so instead of leveling a new one, I decided I would pick up the one I already had. However, I wanted to make this Shaman feel like it was a fresh level 70 as much as I could, so to do this I did 3 things. Number 1, I emptied my gold by sending it off to my main, leaving only around 3000 gold which would have been attained from leveling. I also emptied the bags of any potential upgrades I had in there, as I had been using this character to farm the Tuskar Feast event for the alchemical flavor pocket. Before I started anything else, I also arranged my key bindings and grabbed the Mythic Plus talent build from the Wowhead website so that I had a starting point. It seems like Shamans have 2 different talent builds that vary a lot based on if they have the new tier 31 set bonuses or not. If you have the set, you want to run with the Lava Burst style build, otherwise if you don't, like me, you will instead want to use a lightning style based talent build. The final thing that I did was I completed the Emerald Dream questline up until I received the quest to kill Firak. Whilst doing the questline, I equipped any gear I received from it, even if it was a downgrade to my current gear or broke a tier set, as I wanted this character to be as close as possible to what a fresh level 70s gear may be at the start of patch 10.2. Completing the questline took my item level up from 409 to 422. Whilst clearing the questline, I also completed 3 weekly quests in the Emerald Dream. These are the Super Bloom, Worthy Ally, and Blooming Dream Seeds, as each of these quests can give you a 440 plus piece of gear. From the Worthy Ally, I received a 441 item level helm, a 447 item level axe from the Super Bloom, and a pair of 441 item level boots from the Blooming Dream Seeds quest. Now that my character was set up with its initial gear, I had 2 final goals I wanted to complete before I ran out of time. The first was I wanted to complete a dungeon so that I'd have at least 1 item in my vault after the reset. The second goal was to complete 4 mythic dungeons in total for the Emissary of War weekly event quest. The affixes for this week are Tyrannical, Volcanic, and Sanguine, but I doubt we will get to the point that we will see Volcanic or Sanguine, as I don't think I'll have enough time to push my key that high. I spoke to the Panda in Valdrakken to receive my first key, a +2 Rise of Mirazond. As this was only a +2, it was very quick and easy to complete, but it did show me one big issue. I had no idea what I was doing with Elemental Shaman at all, leaving me at a total overall damage below the tank. Although I do believe the tank was quite a bit above me in item level, nevertheless, completing the dungeon gave me a 441 item level waste and 67 Mythic Plus rating. At this point, I wasn't sure if I'd have time to complete 3 more Mythic Plus dungeons before my time ran out, and as I didn't want to waste the chance at heroic loot from the raid through the use of the Emissary of War quest, I decided to form a group to run the Ruby life pools 3 times so that I could complete the requirements for the quest and get my 467 item level loot. The 3 runs themselves were pretty quick, although after every run I had to create a new group as people often left. During my first run through the dungeon, I managed to get some 437 item level gloves from the first boss of the dungeon. Throughout the 3 runs, there were a couple of deaths, mostly due to the tank not realizing additional mobs had been pulled and running ahead, but nothing too detrimental as there is no timer in a Mythic 0 dungeon. It wasn't too much of a worry. Between each of the dungeon runs, whilst waiting for the group to reform, I did browse the Wowhead Shaman guide a little bit to get a better sense of the rotation and abilities that I should be using. However, I still need a lot of practice at this point. After completing the 3 runs, I handed in my Emissary of War quest and prayed to the loot god before opening the cache. I opened it up and received a pair of 470 item level boots. Not quite what I was looking for, as I was hoping for one of 3 things: a weapon, trinkets, or something I could convert to tier gear. But either way, an upgrade is an upgrade. This brought my shaman up to an item level of 428. I had time to complete one more dungeon and decided to try and push my key up a little more. This time the dungeon was a +4 Waycrest mana. I will state that there were no deaths during this run, however, I still found it a little tricky to play the shaman. For this dungeon, I primarily focused on trying to get better at remembering the shaman's rotation priorities, but my focus on the rotation often meant I stood in things I shouldn't have. Luckily for me, with this being a low level key, I didn't end up inspecting the floor when this happened. I feel like in this dungeon I started to get better at the shaman overall, but still quite bad. In the opening, I seem to do fairly well, but the longer the fight goes on, the more tricky it seems. Another issue I seemed to be having was during AoE. I tried to follow the AoE rotation on the Wowhead website, but it feels like there is a little bit of a build up to the damage while initially setting up. And with this being a low level dungeon, the mobs were dying a little faster than I could get fully set up. In future, I may spend 5 to 10 minutes every time I log in on the shaman just to practice the rotations on the target dummies. At least, by the end of this dungeon, I managed to beat the tank on the damage meters, albeit only just by a hair. Upon completing the dungeon, my Mythic Plus rating rose up to a total of 150. My impressions of the shaman so far is that it seems like it will be a very entertaining class for me to attempt this challenge with. It will definitely take me a while getting used to playing a caster, as well as the overall rotation and abilities that shaman has. What interests me the most is the fact that my rotation and talent build will change completely upon obtaining my tier 31 set bonuses, making me have to learn a new rotation partway through the series. I do feel like this challenge series will take me a bit longer than the Demon Hunter for a couple of reasons. Number 1, it's a role I'm not familiar with. Number 2, as a DPS, queue times are usually longer, and with only 4 hours per week to play the character, I may end up being able to run less dungeons overall throughout the week. So, to summarize the week, I completed my Emerald Dream questline and the 3 weekly quests within it. I completed the Emissary of War quest to receive some heroic raid level loot, took my item level up to 428 from 409, and ended the first week on the Shaman with a Mythic Plus rating of 150. That's all for this episode. If you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like, comment and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. See you next time and have a good one.